Super keyword in inheritance. Mom asks, why do you want to do this? And a child says, Mom, I have decided to make my own life. I don't need anything from you. However, I might need only $20 from you for my breakfast today. In the previous example, all we need to understand, though the child class may override the methods of the parent class, it might still decide to use the parent class overridden method. It might say, I don't need anything, but still if I need something, what can I do? It is possible. To invoke anything belonging to the parent class, the child class needs to use the super function as shown below. Look at the example. A class phone has a constructor, and smartphone has, it does not have a constructor. So the moment you create an instance for the smartphone, these values are taken to the parent class constructors and they are initialized. When you want to access the method, when you now look at this def by of self, no parameter. Here also def by of self, no parameter. Both look same. When exactly both look same method name is same and the parameter is also same, then we call it as method overriding. Right? The moment you call s.by using this variable reference variable s, if you're calling the by method, the method which is here in this smartphone class is being called, that we discussed in the last video. But when you want to invoke the parent class method by, then all you need to do is you'll have to use the super function. Super of dot by, the moment you do that, it is automatically taken to this place. Let's visualize this. So this is what happens when we deal with, look at this. So these two classes are feature phone, it is extended from phone. Then again a smartphone is also extended from phone, right? And this has got no attribute, and this has a method named as by, and the parent class has method named as by and return phone, and it has a constructor. But these two classes do not have a constructor, right? And it has price, brand and camera. So the moment you create an instance for the subclass smartphone, since it has no constructor, it is automatically directed to the parent class. Let's see what happens. So look at this. So these attributes are initialized. Price, brand, camera, all that are initialized now. Then what happens, the moment you call s.by, it automatically goes to this by in the smartphone class, but within which we also have used the keyword named as super of, right? Super function. So when you say super, it denotes something which is there in a parent class. So the flow automatically moves to the parent class. Super is very useful when the child class want to have its own constructor by overriding the parent class constructor. Consider the below code. Since the smartphone class has its own constructor, the phone class constructor is not inherited. Hence, the attribute in the phone class are also not inherited. When it is not initialized using constructor, then we won't be able to access it, right? Look at this. So we have a smartphone. We just call this method, create an instance to smartphone, and previously there was no constructor in the smartphone class, so it was directed to the parent class. In this example, we have it here, so it won't be called. So you're trying to access s using reference variable s.os. Yes, it belongs to this smartphone class. But when you're trying to access s.brand, it does not belong to smartphone, but it belongs to phone. But if you had initialized it, you should be able to access it. Since you have not initialized, you won't be able to access it. Right? So it says smartphone object has no attribute named as brand. Since the attributes are not initialized, since the constructor is not used, so these data members, smartphone will have no access to those data members. Let's visualize this. You'll see how this works. So we start from here, the instance, yes. So we call smartphone, and previously it was directed to parent class. Now it will direct it to subclass init method constructor. So Android and RAM, all these details are taken up. Then we call this out print method. Using print, we are trying to print s.os. Yes, it will give a message saying OS is Android. Fine, right? It gives the message for Android. But when you're trying to print brand was not initialized, which is part of the parent class, which is not initialized, so we got a problem, right? So then let's look at the next code. To access the parent class constructor, we can use a super of. Thus, the data is passed to the child class constructor. From there, the data is sent to the parent class constructor, and thus the attributes of the parent class get inherited. Super function can be used to access the constructor or methods of the parent class but not the attributes. Please remember this. So it's very important. We may read it again. Super function can be used to access the constructor or methods of the parent class, but not the attributes. Also, super function can be used only inside a class and not outside it. That's what happened when you're trying to access it. In the last video or the last few section, we used a super keyword outside the class, which thrown some errors. Look at this example. So here we're creating a constructor. We pass 4 values, or not 5 values, I believe. 20,000, Samsung 12, Android 2, and all that we pass. But if you look at smartphone, all it has is only OS and RAM. It has 2 attributes, nothing else. But we're using another 3 attributes. Both these 3: price, brand, and camera. All that we have it in the parent class. Look at this: price, brand, camera. All that we have it in the parent class. So from here, the first line is super. Using super function, we call the parent class constructor. We pass price, brand, camera. So what happens? These are instantiated. The values are assigned to the attributes. So which means it becomes accessible to the subclass, right? So now if you're trying to print it, you will get the result, right? We may visualize this. So one by one, let's take a look at. So we have a parent class named as phone. Then we have a subclass, feature phone. Feature phone has got nothing. Then we got a smartphone. So now we call this out smartphone. We pass 5 arguments and 3 belongs to parent, and 3 we pass 5 because we would like to take 3 to parent class constructor and 2 to the class itself. So it moves on, and super of dot init. So what happens? The parent class constructor is called. Look at this. Parent class constructor is called. Values are assigned to the attributes. Now the moment the values are assigned to attributes, it becomes accessible to the subclasses. No doubt on that. Fine. Now the subclass attributes are done. Look at this. So this is smartphone instance. From smartphone instance, now it shows it has 5 attributes, right? From which you're able to access it just like that. So everything a parent class has become accessible to subclass, right? So that is what it shows. So if in another case, if the smartphone class is not extended from the parent class phone, then 3 will be shown separately. These 2 will be shown separately. I'm sure you'll be able to understand this. Now we are accessing s.os.brand. Both are accessible. Quick summary: a class can inherit from another class. Inheritance improves code reuse. Constructor, attributes, methods get inherited to the child class. The parent has no access to the child class. Private properties of parent are not accessible directly in the child class. We use getter for that. Child class can override the attributes or methods. This is called a method overriding. Super is a function is an inbuilt function which is used to invoke the parent class methods and constructors.